Hello everyone and welcome back to Star Ocean, the second story. We now need to take the Liqueur Hope right off of its platform on the front line, put it on a ship, and ourselves, and head over to the L continent, finally. Unfortunately, when looking around the area, you would expect for it to be a little bit different for loading up such a big thing, but unfortunately not. Which ultimately made me look at the overall details that you see, like the big ship in the background, and go, has it always been there? And the answer is yes, it has. And the ultimate fact of, like, we still don't know anything. Like, we have picked up barely any scraps in terms of what we are to expect there. And also be the highest level we possibly can. But actually, it's not that important. Now, depending on the path you are at, Diaz will break off in a certain way. With Claude, Diaz will simply head back to the front line. Whereas with Rena, since we recruited him, he'll actually be along with us on the trip. Yep, that's what leaving is, Rena. Like I said last time, we are in the point of no return, so now we're just going to get premonition phrases about, it's like, okay, what are we getting ourselves into? And also at this point in the story, just seeing where all of the different characters end up on the screen, because they're all scattered everywhere. So it's like, okay, you get to just pick out where everybody is. So the initial plan is we're heading to L with the Liqueur Hope, and we are the Vanguard group going in order to pretty much rescue everybody on the continent as we possibly can before the Liqueur Hope is fired directly onto the continent and exterminating as much of it as we can. They're pretty much going scorched earth. So it really begs the question of this scene here, and the Admiral being the priest. Anyway. Yeah, we're supposed to be the Vanguard group. So why are we on the same ship as the Liqueur Hope? Like, I feel like this should be a completely different kind of section of the game where we're under, say, a time limit in order to go around the L continent as quickly as we can, get as many people as we possibly can off of it before, you know, the next part of the game happens. But no, that's not what happens here. I just try to remember where 12 o'clock could possibly be. It's really not a question of, like, I guess anybody could fire the Liqueur Hope. It doesn't have to be one specific person. well, we're screwed. Also, I just love how they mounted the Liqueur Hope to the ship, which is just a whole bunch of chains. Been a while since we've been in a fight.
Oh, here's the enemy. Beware.
At least a fight that was just general. In terms of this is as general as it possibly gets. Just 3 gargoyle enemies, and that's kind of it. Nothing special to them. You're able to deal with them no problem.
Is that it?
You kind of be amazed of getting to this point and they actually pose an actual threat to you. We'd have to be severely underleveled for that. Round 2.
They look pretty tough.
Stay focused.
People don't like this section of the game because when it comes to fighting Shin the second time around, okay, the first time was a time limit boss fight. And this one, you still can't hit him for anything whatsoever. It feels like he hits harder than he did the first time, but he hits the same amount because nothing has really changed between the first fight and this one. The only difference is, well, you're not supposed to win this fight. Nothing's telling you that, and I don't think there's ever been a case of a JRPG telling you when a fight is not supposed to be won in any way, shape, or form other than, of course, making him invincible. And that's the problem with Tractor Beam. Usually Rena loves using Tractor Beam on her own, even though, you know, Shin is a flying enemy. You have to be hitting the ground. You have to be attached to the ground for Tractor Beam in order to actually hit. He does have hit points. Not like we're going to be seeing go down to anything. And he's strong against everything. Like every single element that could possibly be, he's strong against it. So physical attacks are kind of the way to go with that. Which Celine is not a great person for this fight here. Maybe we could try something. Nope. It's at this point where it's just like, okay, especially when it's using a wind element, which Celine can absorb right now. Shin has to change around and go, stop using attacks that are going to heal your enemy. And even if it heals, it still interrupts her.
Thunderstorm!
I'm pretty sure this is going to heal him too, because he's strong against it. Yep. I just don't want him to use spells. I want to get this fight over with.
Energy
I got that off before him. And yeah, that still also heals him too. Alright.
You're responsible for this.
Come on.
Hey.
Almost there, dude. Thank you. There we go. You do have to lose this fight. A lot of people get to this point and go, well, maybe I can eventually hit him for something, and then they use all of their curative and like resurrection bottles and whatnot. And if you use all of those items and realize, oh, you have to lose this fight instead of survive it, well, you've just wasted a lot of items. Into the sea with everyone. Abandoned ship. The other battleships have gained nearly complete control. There are virtually no survivors. That line has been mangled in terms of, okay, the rest of the fleet has been taken over by the demons. That's what they mean by that. And their only reason was to get the energy stone. I also didn't realize with that ship, it's really kind of out of place in terms of everything else there because it's pretty much modeled after modern at the time ships. Yeah, remember what just happened? We're gonna look around you. You can answer most of that question. One is missing. We are a party of 6. Well, Claude's done. That means Diaz has to take over as the main character now. Let's move around to find refugees. Again, put the investigation on hold. We have other things to do, like, survive. And get off of this beach. So like Bowman said, welcome to the continent of L. We've drifted over to weirdly, the west side of the continent, but in terms of wrapping around the world map, it kind of makes sense that we'd be over on this side. Now, there's 2 places we can go. One is the giant tent, which seems to be the place we're supposed to go, but you saw this giant tower first, right? Incredibly foreboding, someplace that really we shouldn't be going to at this point in time. Seems like a bad move. Also, when it comes to the bridge is gigantic. Just the 2 of us in such a place. Not entirely sure what Rena means by that, but there we go. Let's fix that line a little bit. Not the only thing we can do here. We can go forward. It's amazing how a security system can explain to you why a door won't open. Never before have they ever had to give more context than, give me what I want. You think with this team they would be a little bit more confused as to what an ID card could possibly be? There you are. I'm not sure what he means by saved, other than, the ocean having pity. Also, Claude's perspective doesn't get the flashback that Rena's does. Like, I know I added around this a little bit, but yeah, Claude doesn't get the extra stuff compared to what Rena does. She just gets more. However, see, we ask that question and go, how long is the beach that we're on? You see someone washed up, it doesn't mean they're all going to be in the exact same spot. Like, Leon is a kid, but he's 12. Like, maybe have a little bit more context to it? Nope. Especially with the kind of kid we know Leon is at this point. If it's not plain black and white, we're not going to be understanding anything else. There is still something about that immediate reaction that Claude has that still, like, does something for him as a character in terms of, like, being a little bit more impulsive in order to get things done. Turning around and going, like, this isn't helping. We need to do something that is actually something we can use. Leon, what you're doing right now is not useful. So Rena has the team of 5. Claude just gets Leon with him. Which does raise a question. But I'll answer that in due time. So now we have 2 parties just running around not knowing what's going on there because, yeah, there's not much to do at the tower. So now we have to head over to the camp. They sort of just walked up deeper into the area in order to just get into the position and then move. You think they would have been stopped at the entrance, but no. And weirdly, you're not wet or anything at all. Strange. It feels, honestly, it feels strange for them to continuously like identify that this is the continent you're currently on. Like, it would be strange to do it in any sort of context in terms of the real world. Like, if somebody just washed up on shore, they would be saying what town they're currently in, not, yes, you're on the continent of North America, you're on the continent of Africa. It just doesn't work like that. But when you get the sense of how small the continent of L really is, kind of works out that way. The question also ultimately comes down to, can we loiter here a little bit so that if anybody else comes, we can just all talk to them together instead of multiple times? It's not the first time she's worried. Now, most of the text here is pretty identical, except for replacing names, and it's only Claude and Leon here. But you think with Claude being in the driver's seat, there would be just a little bit more when it comes to inspecting the door ahead. If it needs an ID card, well, Claude knows what he's talking about. It's only Leon that's going to be in the dark. Also, no one comments about like the disembodied voice that's also telling them that they need to insert an ID card. All right, it's time for our groups to reconvene. It'd be better if Claude's sprite was actually doing anything when Rena's is at least doing twitching to kind of give the feeling that she's in tears. And depending on context, like right out of nowhere, the confession that comes up at this point here feels a little bit out of left field, but and I'm just guessing right now is maybe the relationship values in terms of private actions and actually working with Rena and Claude in combat might have something to do with how she goes about confessing at this point in the game, because at least in the alternate path where Rena is the focus, she doesn't confess that hard. She kind of still says it, though. Also, please enjoy whatever Ashton's doing. Like, I left it in there going like, okay, the text is pretty much the same here. It's just kind of jumbled a little bit differently. And then all of a sudden, Ashton goes ahead and does that. Like, okay, cool. But you might have noticed that on Rena's perspective, Leon wasn't around. Hold on to that. The amount of silence they do take is honestly palpable, because what do you say? It also shows that Leon did not go back into what he did at the beach there because, well, there's a lot more people there in order to watch him. Which I think says something about that. Oh, we're not going to loiter some more? No. Now that at least the minimum 2 characters that you can have, Claude and Rena, are together, because that's literally all you could have at this point, including Leon if Claude is the lead, then you can go and actually talk with the leader. Well, at least the kid is having a good time here. Keep in mind whatever this woman says, because we're going to be investigating that too. Just starts with, and you are? I'm like, not, oh, the god, oh, good, there's more people. Kind of all either taken over or blown up at this point. What would be amazing is if they just like pulled up the lie of just like, we are the Vanguard group, we're here to get you out of here. And then turned around and went, oh, well, there's no boats. All the boats were blown up. Yeah, we have this continent here who has somehow survived the crash of a pretty notable sized meteor strike. So here they say more than half of the town of Illyria was destroyed. The thing is, the entire group, when they were heading to the tower, kind of presumed that, well, the tower is where Illyria was. Because, yeah, they took that and made it their stronghold. So the question I really get here is that there's a bunch of contradictions. Because either Illyria was in two places, or Illyria was just really, really big. If that's the case, I'm going like, okay, one town, one continent. It's pretty gigantic. We kind of have no choice at this point. We're not here to just simply investigate it. Like, I mean, we are, but when it comes to that of like, okay, we have no way off of this continent anymore. Presumably, because the main attack force that stood a chance against whatever is out there has been destroyed. Well, you can kind of kiss Liqueur and cross goodbye because they have no way of defending themselves. We're going in on a suicide mission at this point. Now again, with Rena's side, Leon is not with us. I also wanted to point out that for some reason in my footage, we got some junk data that Ashton was carrying around with him. Nothing terrible, but it's just something to point out there. Because it is mentioned that it's like, okay, apart from our party, everyone else has not shown up. Not even Leon. They kind of hope that Leon is alive. However, you can kind of put two and two together where it's like, okay, Leon here, but Leon not in the other perspective. When he drops off that boat, he dies. He gets swept away in the ocean just like just like Murdoch and Flores and the other members of the boat. And now you get to make a choice. Do you leave Leon here in the hopes that his parents are alive and will show up? Or do you take him with you? Like, leaving him here seems like a kind of a silly thing to do. Just drop a 12-year-old off and go on to very deadly territory. But it's in your options to do so. Yep, and you'll be waiting here forever, Leon, if that's the case here. But because, for Claude's perspective, this is a unique choice that he gets to make, this is your opportunity to actually permanently recruit Leon into your party. I just love that they do it in such an awkward way. Because Claude opens up going like, hey, can we just leave him here with you in case his parents show up? And then if you actually want him in your party, you have to just double back on that that decision there. Let's do that after all. Never mind what I just said. And that technically makes the last duo of party members where you can only get one or the other. So there is Ashton and Opera, there's Pressus and Bowman, and finally Diaz and Leon. Diaz for Rena, Claude has Leon. Which means that Claude now has 7 party members we get to juggle with. Only 1 free spot left. News of victory. What is that victory even going to look like? So, the armory. We're told that we are able to get a whole bunch of equipment from the armory. But if you're not paying attention to the text here, you would think, oh, well, this is wonderful equipment. It actually is, there's no equipment here at all. It's just a whole bunch of other things that you probably are barely going to be using, apart from maybe some resurrection bottles and some berries. You do literally have to inspect a whole bunch of places around the armory in order to get your equipment, which there's some pretty decent things in here. And the unfortunate thing is that you really have no idea where these equipment pieces could possibly be until you mash X on every single bit of the background. They do fix this in the remake by making these parts shiny, but man, it just looks completely awkward as I'm just rotating Rena around in order to pick up stuff. Like, is there more? Is there more? I don't know. Just gotta do my swivel dance. And good things for Bowman. Like, nothing here is, terrible. Unless you have, multiple things that you already have from, say, Liqueur before it was completely locked down. And the fact that it's all free, I'll take it. I'll certainly take it. And then lastly, yeah. I love that it's called the shield sword. Such an oxymoron. It's it's a sword that defends you instead of attacks. I'm just taking one last look around to see if I missed anything, but I think that is everything that there is. Apart from him saying how cheap we are. And again, Claude, why would you put it that way? Just say what it is. You don't have to completely throw yourself under the bus in terms of keeping yourself a secret. It's forget it. I'm done keeping this secret. God. And if you're wondering why the youth here has a weird speech impediment when really doesn't call for it, couldn't tell you. I guess they wanted to just be funny with this one. Because we've seen it twice, we know exactly where we need to use it. It's going to be our ticket into the tower, which is our next dungeon. Before we do that, though, that's all we can do really in the camp, which means we get to take a little bit of a tour of the L continent before heading to the only other destination that we can possibly go to. Wandering around the L continent, there's a bunch of places that just kind of snake around in weird places, and the, shall we say, the encounter rate is kind of high for going around the world map. But apart from the tower, there are 2 places we can go. It's just annoying to get to one of them because you have to figure out which one of the winding pathways is going to get you there. And eventually the redness, the sunset does go away. The first place is this, right at the top here. This is where the sorcery globe initially crash landed. Which again makes me feel like, okay, that was where Illyria was actually supposed to be. And then we're going to Illyria, which is supposed to be the tower. Completely different places in order to go. There's also this area way over to the side here, which if you look over to the continent over here where it maps around, hey, there's the frontline base. That's where Diaz is. So it kind of made sense why the frontline base was where it was, because that's the shortest distance between the 2 continents. Now the last place is actually where we originally were supposed to go before, a certain natural disaster occurred. It's only mentioned by that specific woman in the refuge camp, the port of Tenyu. There's Click, but as you can kind of see, there is no even remnant of a port town on this side on the L continent. No mention of Tenyu or no markings of it at all. In the remake, they do fix this though. You can actually have some place for you to go. So that's lovely. But with that's kind of where we are in terms of the L continent. Again, roughly kind of small overall. But now we got to figure out, okay, what is the sorcery globe and what is it doing in the tower? What awaits us here? See you next time, everyone.